I'm joined by Surjeet Bhalla, who apart from being an economist, has also been a bit of a psephologist. He's written books on how voting patterns in India take place. Joined by Yogendra Yadav, co-founder Swaraj India, one of India's original psephologists as well. And we are also joined by Amitabh Tiwari. Amitabh is someone who, of Voter Vibes, actually tracked this election very, very closely. I want to come to each of you first for your preliminary observations. Am I right, Surjeet Bhalla, in saying what the BJP has done is change the rules of the way elections are now fought, made it much more competitive? You and I love cricket, so it's a bit like Virat Kohli now making sure that fitness is required to win a test match or to play for India. Similarly, Modi Shah have said, you want to fight us, you're going to have a perfect strategy.
You know, to extend the cricket analogy, you had on your show that Tejashwi was clean bowled, Rahul retired hurt. So I want to ask you, what will it take for you to put on the screen that Rahul has been clean bowled? That's what the problem is. So if we want to look at this election, clearly there was performance on the part of the NDA and demonstrated performance, especially on the part of Nitish, for the last 20 years. On the other hand, you have two dynas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Both from dying parties coming up in competition. So I think it was a complete lack of competition that allowed this 202 NDA victory.
Okay, so it's interesting the way you're posing it. Yogendra Yadav, you want to respond? Do you believe, therefore, the opposition has failed to understand how you've got to combat the Modi-Shah juggernaut, whether it's in terms of widening your social coalition, whether it's in terms of ensuring that on the ground there is a clear narrative that you're putting before the people, and actually building bottom up from the booth level rather than netas flying in and parachuting from the top, all of which may in different ways have hurt the opposition.
Rahul, continuing with the sports analogy, there is absolutely no doubt BJP has changed the rules of the game. If you were to take the analogy of exams, there was days in which you and I used to take exam. You read the textbook, you revised the class notes, you went and did exams. Today you go to quota. And you, of course, also look for the right center where you should be, where your examination should be located. This is exactly how the BJP has changed rules of the election. It's a different kind of election, or the kind of things Australian cricket did, which simply changed the way cricket was being played. Most of it was fair. Some of it was foul as well, as we know. And while we are on the cricketing metaphor, let's not forget the role of the umpires and how the role of the umpire has changed from being a referee to being people who are seen to be players as well. But forget the metaphor now and focus on the real thing. To my mind, it was quite clear right from the beginning that NDA had an advantage in this election. They had an advantage because their political coalition was always bigger than Mahagathbandhan. The social pool from which they drew was also bigger than Mahagathbandhan. And as you rightly mentioned, I think Maria mentioned, women voters. Their consistent targeting of women voter has changed the rules of the game for the good. I mean, I really think it's a welcome development for democracy. Today, it may have been done with foul means, but tomorrow, if once women voters, rise as voters in their own right, then it is good for democracy. So these things have changed. However, so therefore, I mean, the victory of the NDA does not surprise me. But the margin of victory, 9%, 9 to 10% gap when I checked last, 200 plus votes. Rajdeep, you would remember 2010. You and I should remember it particularly because we worked with the same channel at that time. It was CNN IBN. You would recall I came back from Bihar and said, I think we made a forecast saying NDA is going to get more than 200 seats. And you would recall your own Hindi colleagues refused to take it. And they said, nah, Baba, this is impossible. But Rajdeep, you would remember we traveled during that election. that is an election where whichever household you went to, and I traveled a lot, everyone said in the last 5 years, मेरे गांव की तस्वीर बदलती है, सड़क आ गई है, नलकूप आ गया है, स्कूल बेहतर है. Did you hear that kind of a thing? I agree that there was no
I'll tell you what we heard. I'll tell
anger
you
or
what,
anti-incumbency
Yogendra
against
ji,
Nitish, but there
no, no,
was. Did you see something like that this
I'll
time?
tell you what we heard. No one that I met, and that surprised me.
Yes.
Very few. I mean, I would want to use the word no one, that would be unfair. But very few that I met were angry with Nitish Kumar. Or
I agree.
were not
Yes.
willing to give him the benefit of doubt. There was a trust factor. One of his classmates said, Nitish ji ne kuch nahi bigada hai. There was basically a sense of trust and credibility, and therefore I came away convinced there was no anti-incumbency. But Amitabh Tiwari, taking off from what Yogendra Yadav said, you and others, many pollsters pitched the numbers at 135 to 145. It's gone up to 200. Has that surge is what many were caught unguarded with, that there was a silent voter out there who said, nahi, Nitish ko hi denge. We choose Nitish over the Yadavs. That's what they decided, and that social political coalition was very large. Did you underestimate particularly the Mahila vote and the strength of that political social coalition?
Yeah, essentially, I mean, it is very, very difficult to catch this kind of a wave because even in Maharashtra, if you remember, a three-fourths majority was achieved by the Mahayuti. And this, as you are saying, is rightly because of the fact that a lot of the EBC, lower EBC, smaller EBC groups voters are relatively lesser polled in any survey. And also, it seems that the Mahila vote from the core vote block of the Mahagathbandhan, which is the MY, also seems to have voted silently in some seats, especially where the JDU was contesting in favor of the NDA. So this switch is also very, very difficult to catch because if there is a 10% vote share lead for the NDA, which means that at least there is a 15 to 20% lead for the NDA amongst the women, even if you assume that there was a good amount of support for the Mahagathbandhan amongst the males,
So,
especially the youth.
yes, so are we then, Yogendra Yadav, back to the old theory of Nitish Kumar's voters being silent? If it is this, because this kind of surge is about, again, we are looking at some kind of silent voters, but this time the silent voters of Nitish Kumar were emphasizing on the contributions that he has made. They were talking about his welfare schemes. So are we then going back to saying that EBCs are against silent voters?
Maria, this must be a very new theory because what I just reminded Rajdeep, 2010 is almost identical success of NDA. We were doing polling at that time. I personally did not find any silent voters. We came back, we reported and said, look, this is what's going to happen. Rajdeep was good enough to put it out on air. Any other editor may not have put it out on air. And we were proven right. I do not think Nitish Kumar's voters are silent. And if they had no reason to be silent in 2010, they have much less reasons to be silent in 2025. Why would they have any reason to be silent? Central government with Nitish, he is in power locally. They have no reason to be silent. Would we consider another thing that everyone is talking about, that the opposition in this country is talking about? I'm not saying this is proven, but should we not even look at the possibility that while NDA's lead was real and with good reasons, this lead has been mixed with some steroids? I do not
No,
know.
give us, I want to you see, Yogendra Yadav, when you say the NDA's lead has been mixed with steroids, we need proof of that.
Yeah.
There has been this allegation of vote chori. When I look
I'll
at the
unpack
SIR
it.
list, and it was a valuable effort to try and make sure that the Election Commission did not remove any legitimate citizens. When I look at the numbers, at the end of the day, you could argue that SIR was not responsible for this scale of victory. In fact, we traveled across Bihar, we didn't even hear about SIR. It was just not registering. So, what are these steroids? What are the steroids that you're saying? I can appreciate you saying 10,000 rupees were allowed. My belief is 10,000 rupees were allowed even while the code of conduct was going on. In fact, just before voting. Is that the steroid you're speaking about?
So it's a metaphor, and let me unpack it. It's a very fair demand. When I say steroid, I mean things other than the popularity and straightforward, things that you normally are allowed to do to contest election and do other things. Number one, blatant use of state power. Number two, money, massive use of money. Number three, completely partisan media, not only in Delhi, but Bihar, Patna as well. Number four, election commission, which played completely partisan. Let me illustrate it. This 10,000 rupees thing. Yes, it started in Madhya Pradesh, but started as a scheme, a monthly scheme, which was rolled out initially in Madhya Pradesh. That was not fair, but at least it pretended to be a scheme. What happened in Bihar is straightforward pre-election bribe, which the election commission simply watched, and many of the installments were delivered when nomination had been finished. I call it straightforward bribe. And if
Can I
some
take
opposition
that?
party had started
Can I
this,
take it to Mr. Bhalla? You know, you're making a very serious allegation. It's not, you're not the only one. Many people have made it. I've also questioned that scheme because I believe direct cash transfers, Surjeet Bhalla, of the manner they were made now is very dangerous. Look at the fiscal health of Bihar and many other states. If just before the election, you're just going to throw money. It's not a scheme. It was money. Nitish's scheme was Jivika Didi. That was a legitimate scheme of self-help groups. Now it was money. Do you agree with Yogendra Yadav? The election commission, the media should have asked many more questions. Otherwise, it's actually a capture of the state. I'm not going to use the word steroid, capture of the state. It may be legal, but it's not ethical.
Look, I happen to believe, and I have tried to substantiate it, that the 10,000 rupee bribe, dole, freebie, whatever you may call, had nothing whatsoever to do with this result. So, in other words, the burden is on Yogendra Yadav and others to show how much, and he's a practicing and a very sophisticated psephologist. Let him come up with some documentation as to the effect of this 10,000 rupees.
Was it ethical?
Yeah,
Was it ethical? Forget about what impact. Do you believe it is? You're an economist. I look at the fiscal debt that many states are facing. Now, every chief minister is going to do this. 3 days before the model code of conduct, I will put up a similar scheme, and EC will have to accept it because you've set a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong guy because I happen to also be completely opposed to this
Yes.
10,000. I'm arguing, so I'm completely opposed to this freebie. And indeed, the Prime Minister Modi has made several points, on several occasions, has said that he doesn't believe in freebies. This is the ultimate freebie. They may couch it in terms of this is self-help investment, but it's a freebie and it shouldn't be there. So let's, all I'm asking for, so I'm completely opposed to it, just like you are. So that won't get us anywhere. What we need to analyze is what made the NDA win so significantly. And I think the 10,000 had nothing to do with it.
So what made it? So what was the key factor according to you?
Yeah, voters vote on performance and expected performance. Now, in the case of Nitish and Bihar, there is 20 years of performance. One election after another, he has won. So we know that. On the other hand, you have the opposition coming in and they have nothing to offer, literally nothing to say that, listen, this is what we'll do, therefore vote for us. So that's what the people saw. I want to relate one incident on my travels in Bihar, which I think illustrates what has gone on. So there was only one person I met on the entire trip who said she would vote for the Congress. One person, okay? And she was somewhere in the late 40s. She had 3 daughters next to her. And once she said that she was going to vote for Congress and Rahul, her daughter started laughing.
Okay.
So this is, basically, I don't think Rahul Gandhi has any credibility as a politician, and neither does Tejashwi. That's
Okay.
what determined this election. They
Okay.
have
Maria.
no
So a weak
credibility
opposition.
whatsoever as politicians.
So you are essentially saying, Mr. Bhalla, that there was a weak opposition, but there was also everything going right on the side of the NDA. The fact is that there are multiple issues at play here. It's a multifaceted election, and the reason why Nitish Kumar has won is not just about welfareism. There is also the broader caste coalition, the social coalition that we speak about in the context of Bihar. But, you know, that point that has been made with regards to the role of the opposition, a weak opposition can lead to this kind of landslide as well, because they do not have their house in order, Amitabh Tiwari. Look at this number. Mahagathbandhan is at 35. The Congress scorecard is similar to that of MIM. And as we welcome Sanjay Kumar and also Manisha Priyam on this broadcast.
See,
Amitabh Tiwari.
I draw parallels to the Maharashtra verdict. If you recall, even in Maharashtra, the MVA partners continued to fight amongst themselves as to who will be the CM chair. Uddhav Thackeray kept on pressurizing the Congress and the NCP to declare him as CM face. That didn't happen. The ticket distribution also was delayed there compared to the BJP or the NDA partners, which declared the tickets earlier compared to the MVA. So there is a parallel, and it seems that the opposition or the India bloc did not take lessons from that verdict. Of course, when the Tejashwi Yadav announced this Sarkari job scheme for each household, I think then is where some of the credibility which he enjoyed amongst the youth seems to have lost, because there was no calculations to back that claim. And even his hardcore supporters, I feel, would not believe in this promise of giving a Sarkari job or a government job to each of the households.
You know, Manisha Priyam joining us. Manisha Priyam, the scale of the victory, we were talking about exit poll. No exit poll predicted this scale. Are you surprised? Do you believe this is a tectonic change, as some are saying that caste identities have melted away, gender has replaced it? Or is it, as others are arguing, that just the size of this coalition, add the EBCs at 26%, add the Dalits, particularly the Paswans, add the forward caste, and you're already well over 40%. The sheer size of the social political coalition of the NDA meant that they were always going to win big.
Look, Rajdeep, let me be very honest. I always believed that the NDA had an edge, an advantage, but I also saw on the field that the MGB was also holding on. There can be many ways. No doubt, this scale is absolutely amazing. It's immense. And there are various ways of interpreting this, one of which is to see it in terms of electoral strategies, the skills, etc. And I clearly saw the BJP and the JDU fight two different elections. Remember, the BJP was fighting the Magad Shahabad region with the CPI-ML really as its main foe there, and looking at caste-based coalitions and caste politics of the Ati Pichdas to be able to trump on the left. And in that sense, the RJD, which was relying mainly on the CPI-ML to give it that region, I think that got unstuck. So they were left in the trenches without having a larger cover to be able to handle the great strategy and the great coalition of the BJP in the Magad Shahabad region. The JDU, on the other hand, had its own rallies. Remember, the manifesto release was done for barely a few minutes. No speeches together. The Prime Minister's Patna roadshow also did not have Nitish Kumar on it. So two different electoral strategies, two different elections. But the real thing that was done was really notching up all the smaller allies, giving the BJP, which has a conventional image of being an upper caste party, not so many Brahmins in Bihar,
Right.
but the Bhumihars,
Ma'am,
Rajputs,
I'm just going to stop you there for a
also the
moment.
Baniyas. Now,